One of the most asked questions we receive is what is the best way to add more microphone inputs to my audio interface? With many interfaces having only 2 to 4 onboard mic inputs, users are looking for the best way to record channel counts for drum sessions or live ensembles by scaling their current setup. To do this, we recommend a 12 mic or AVB tool from RME. These microphone preamps offer many advantages in terms of professional sound quality, expandability, and ease of use. They are digitally controlled so you can install them wherever you need and remote control the preamps from your DAW location using remote software developed by RME. Let's show you how to choose the right setup for you and configure your system to the desired number of microphone inputs. While there are several choices of RME interfaces for building a high channel count solution, we will focus on a few options in this video to best illustrate the configuration options and steps using RME's MIDI technology. It's important to note that whichever interface you choose, the configuration steps are the same. Here is an RME Fireface UFX Plus, which has 4 onboard mic inputs. For more mic inputs, we simply add additional 12 mics to our system as shown. We can do this all the way up to 64 mic inputs at 24-bit 48 kHz. Using the same approach, we can do this using an RME HDSPE MIDI PCI Express card. For very large setups, we can even utilize the RME HDSPE MIDI effects card and connect up to 192 mic inputs in a single system. Using a simpler interface like the RME MIDIface USB, we can simply add mic inputs using RME's AVB tool or the RME 12 mic as shown. We can do this all the way up to 64 mic inputs at 24-bit 48 kHz. There are 2 types of MIDI connections available to connect our preamps to our audio interface. We choose MIDI for its high channel count capability for audio and its convenient MIDI over MIDI technology. This will be ideal for remote controlling our mic preamps from our DAW. Choose the MIDI type that best suits your particular needs. Using our system example, here we have an RME UFX Plus in combination with 3 12 mics. On the back of the units, you will find the MIDI coax connections here. If you would prefer to use MIDI optical, you must first insert the MIDI SFP module in the slot shown. Once completed, you can use these ports for your MIDI connections. We will connect our gear using a MIDI loop. In a system with 2 devices, connect the MIDI output to the input on the second device. You must also make a return MIDI connection back to the first device as shown. In a system with 3 devices, our MIDI loop is performed as shown. MIDI out to MIDI in all the way back to the first device, completing our loop. The same method applies as we add more devices. No matter which combination of audio interface and MIDI preamp you choose, the connection process is the same. Before we configure our hardware, it's important to understand some key benefits and how we choose to lay out our expanded system. We can put all our preamps together in one rack with our audio interface, or we can choose to separate our mic preamps in different locations. This setup allows us to take advantage of RME's control software as well as route independent headphone mixes back to the different locations as shown here. The same is true no matter which RME audio interface you are using. The MIDI loop connection process remains the same. However, you may decide to choose your MIDI format based on the distance between locations. In most cases, MIDI coax or MIDI optical will be suitable. In very long distance situations, you may need to use the MIDI single mode format. Each device in our system will need to have the correct clock settings. On our audio interface, we will set the master clock to internal and set each MIDI input and output format accordingly. It's important to check the MIDI status after all devices are configured. You should see sync status next to the format you are using along with the correct sample rate. On each preamp, set the master clock to the correct MIDI format. When all devices are configured correctly, the light should be green. You may see red temporarily until you have done this for all your devices. To set up your devices correctly on the MIDI network, we will need to configure the remote and MIDI settings properly. Go to the remote settings and enable the HTTP remote. From the same menu, select MIDI. Set your MIDI input and MIDI output to the MIDI format you are using. Lastly, set the MIDI device ID to a unique number for each remote device in your system. In our example, we will set each 12 mic to device ID 1, 2, and 3. Now that the hardware is configured, we must route the audio from each preamp in our MIDI stream to pass correctly to our audio interface. The simplest method for doing this is to use the web interface for each preamp. Connect a USB 2 cable from your computer to the USB port on the first RME preamp in your setup. Open a web browser and type in the following IP address. Go to the Routing tab. Click on the mic inputs section and route your mic inputs to MIDI outputs 1 through 12 as shown. Now route the remaining MIDI inputs to pass through as you see here. In our system, we are only using 36 of the available 64 MIDI channels. Now disconnect the USB cable from the first preamp and connect it to the second preamp's USB port. The second unit will come online and we will now route this unit's mic inputs to MIDI outputs 13 through 24. As previously done with our first preamp, we will route the remaining MIDI inputs to pass through to the corresponding MIDI outputs. We skip channels 13 through 24 as these are now occupied by this unit's mic inputs. For our third and last device in this system, we disconnect the USB cable again and reconnect it to our third unit's USB port. The third unit will come online and we will now route this unit's mic inputs to MIDI outputs 25 through 36. As previously done with our first two preamps, we will route the remaining MIDI inputs to pass through to the corresponding MIDI outputs as shown. We skip channels 25 through 36 as these are now occupied by this unit's mic inputs. We can now view our audio interface inputs in TotalMix and see all of the external mic channels coming into our MIDI inputs in the top row. One of the great advantages of RME's digitally controlled preamps is their ability to be remote controlled using RME's AVB MIDI control software. In our example, we are using 3 RME 12 mics with our Fireface UFX Plus. To configure your remote software, first set your MIDI port. For the UFX Plus, we are using MIDI over MIDI coax, so we will choose MIDI port 4. If you are using MIDI over MIDI optical, choose MIDI port 3. Next, add your remote devices according to your system. For our example, we are using 3 12 mic units to add 36 additional mic preamps to our UFX Plus. Now set the device ID number according to your setup. For our setup, we use MIDI device IDs 1, 2, and 3. You should see all 3 devices with a green online indicator. This completes our setup. We have full remote control of our external preamps as well as metering. In TotalMix, we can easily see the onboard mic preamps of our interface, followed by the external mic preamps. TotalMix is one of the cornerstone technologies found in RME interfaces. One of its primary functions is managing all the audio signals in and out of your RME interface. When expanding your setup using external microphone preamps like the RME 12 mic and AVB tool, it may be useful to know a few tricks for simplifying your TotalMix window for better managing your workflow. The top row of TotalMix shows all the analog and digital inputs of your audio interface. Using workspaces, we can create custom workflows to suit our specific needs. For example, here we created a custom workspace to only show our external microphone preamps. In this example, we created a workspace that displays all of the mic inputs for the entire system, the onboard mic preamps of our Fireface UFX Plus, followed by the external mic inputs of our 3 12 mic units. If you'd like more information about this type of setup or any other configuration, please visit us at rmeusa.com/support. Thanks for watching.